Hey, welcome to Captive Audience. It is Friday, the end of May. Well, tomorrow's the end of May, but it's close enough. It is the 30th, and I'm Sunny Danforth. I am back to feeling better. Still have a little congestion, but hey, I'm back on the air. It's a beautiful day here in Northeast Oregon. I have to tell you, the sun is out. It's warm. It's so nice. Yesterday was a bit windy. But today was really, really beautiful. Well, we've got, like, I'm going to say tonight's episode is the good, the bad, the ugly, and then some more good stuff. It's, the legislators are at it in Oregon. We have about another month of the damage that they will do to the state of Oregon. And so I thought I would talk about some of those things that has been going on and what's kind of coming up. Some good news. We'll start with good news and we're going to end with good news tonight. And the first good news, which I think is good news, is the vote by mail petition is now, the ballot title has now been issued, but that has until just a few more days. And if somebody doesn't challenge it, then it's going to be good to go. And I like it because it's very straightforward. So the certified title prohibits vote by mail elections, requires proof of citizenship for voter registration, and mandates valid photo identification to vote. That's common sense. We need a lot more common sense in the state of Oregon, and it's very straightforward. So congratulations on reaching that. It'll be even better after June 2nd if that all goes forward and they can go, Yahoo, we're going to get it. Now we can start gathering real signatures. So I think that's will be a win. And it's funny talking to different people around our state that some people are really opposed to this. And I frankly don't see why. I haven't heard a compelling argument, I'll say that, as to why anybody would oppose this ballot title and or this initiative petition to get it on the ballot and let the voters decide. Let the voters decide. Now, will they gather enough signatures? That remains to be seen. But I applaud the effort, definitely. Well, there is something that certainly hasn't been on my radar, but apparently SNAP benefits. It seems to me maybe I did mention something about this some time back, but people in Oregon are getting their SNAP benefits stolen, like it's a credit card, and they're in skimmers. People are skimming them and cleaning out their account. Well, what's interesting is a couple of years ago, the feds notified the state and said, you have to, they encouraged them to change to chip cards. And in fact, last November, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture sent Governor Kotek a letter encouraging the transition to SNAP chip cards to prevent fraud. Well, it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened at all. Well, Oregon, it fails at so many things, and so it hasn't happened. They haven't issued new cards. And apparently it's up to the states to do that, even though they're getting federal dollars. And if you're getting federal dollars and the feds say you should do this, I would say it's a good thing to do. And I suppose. So, this poor person, got hit twice and their account cleaned out. Well, it used to be that, so letting them, before I say that, in the past 2 years, the USDA reports it replaced $2.2 million in stolen SNAP benefits from Oregon residents in the past 2 years. But that nationwide reimbursement program ended in December, leaving victims with no way to buy groceries. Well, I would say they ended it because they knew there was fraud happening and the states wouldn't change into a chip card. I guess with a chip card, you're not going to get skimmed. I don't know. But it says that crooks often skim cards by secretly installing devices on ATM readers and then creates duplicates and drains the account. And in April, the Oregon Department of Justice charged 19 people with stealing SNAP benefit cards around the country and using the money to purchase baby formula, which then they then sold on the black market. This is a big deal. You know, people that need those benefits, they really need those benefits. You know, I'm not at all for illegals getting any of those benefits. We want to make the illegals, in my opinion, totally my opinion, as uncomfortable as possible being in our country so they'll go back home instead of being on the dole in our country. But this is, I'm talking about legitimate people that need a SNAP program and getting it their money taken. And it's all because our state doesn't issue new cards. Hello, how simple would that be, right? I know it costs money, but another agency not doing something, you know, kind of like our unemployment. Remember, we've talked about unemployment a lot. And, you know, Lori, I don't know how many signatures are needed for the petition. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. 120,000? I don't know. I don't know. So there is a bill. This was a story on Wednesday, actually Thursday, that the Senate Democrats passed a bill 3789 that was a deeply partisan measure that gives unions sweeping new powers to sue their political opponents while refusing to hold those same unions accountable for well-documented cases of fraud and deception against public employees. And so sadly, the Senate Democrats passed it, and I'm sure that the House Democrats will do the same. So now, actually, no, the Senate Republicans, the bill, I'm sorry, the very end of this article, the bill now moves to the governor's desk, will almost certainly be signed into law. And it's a shame. Senate Republicans proposed a minority report that would have preserved the bill's framework while adding equivalent protections for workers, but that, of course, never went anywhere at all. This is what happens when you lose elections and you get the Senate and the House have majority control and a Democrat governor that really hates our state. So not fair at all. And Lord knows the unions are doing a lot of things in our state that is like, I believe they're active in ballot harvesting as well, affecting our elections a lot. Well, Portland election results show, this is a story out of Willamette Week, that show the Portland Association of Teachers' power. The union victories were all the more notable since this was the first election since the teacher strike in the fall of 2023 that had divided a lot of parents. And so this story was actually out on Tuesday, but I wanted to cover some things that have gone on. And there was actually, of the 4 candidates that the Portland Public Schools Union was backing, only one of them lost. And you know, the one who lost was 18 years old. 18-year-old, and she is a community organizer. You know, that translates to communist. Obama was a community organizer. Remember that. He's an absolute communist. He does not like America. Actions showed it very, very much. So the teaching is, of course, they're not going to lose seats where they have seats. They want to do everything they can to stay in power and promote more money for schools, more control over schools, despite the failing grades of the schools here. So the story is actually interesting. I found. I'm going to put that in the comments here. Let's see. I heard Kotek's going back on her word and putting her wife. Her wife is in a new position, all right, and her wife has got mental health issues, and yet she's going to be in charge of a mental health a committee that's going to look at improving the mental health issues here in the state of Oregon. Do I think it'll succeed? No. It is, I will note, a unpaid position. And the big controversy before was she was trying to put her into paid positions. And, remember all like the top 5 of Kotek's staff all quit. They just go, nope, we're not dealing with this. Well, yeah, she's total conflict of interest. Well, there is a controversial wage theft bill, and it passes the Oregon House. And this story was from Wednesday. It was updated yesterday. Democrats say the bill moves protections for unpaid workers. Republicans fear it will increase costs and stifle competition. Well, what it is if you hire a contractor, this is my understanding after reading this, is if you hire a contractor and that contractor does not pay the people that they hire or their subcontractors or their suppliers, you are now on the hook. And the Attorney General of Oregon can come after you, and you are on the hook. Even though you've paid the contractor, you, as the person who has hired them, are now on the hook for that. And the Attorney General of Oregon can put a lien on your property if you refuse to pay, and you're going to be have to pay no matter what. So it's unrepresented construction workers can sue property owners and general contractors for unpaid work under a law that passed the State House on Wednesday. It passed 31 to 26, and the House lawmakers passed it, allowing workers to go to court to recover lost wages, not just from the subcontractors who pay them directly, but from the property owners and general contractors at any tier. And it allows the state's attorney general to file a lawsuit on behalf of unpaid workers. And is that legal? Well, they've just passed it, and I would say it is. I will tell you that I was in a former life a contractor in the state of California. I was a landscape contractor. I have put my contractor's license on hold. It's inactive. I still hold it, but it is inactive. And I recall a job that I was doing many years ago. And in order for me to get paid, I had to show proof that, and I had to get a letter from my suppliers that they would give me a letter that said they have been paid and that everything is good. So I submitted that paperwork to the contractor who hired me, and then I would get paid. So it is a way of, I guess Oregon is going to go by the way of that type of thing. Now, it never, to my knowledge, when I was still working as a contractor, went down to the people that I hired. So, for example, they always asked for proof that I had paid my suppliers and, who I was buying my materials from and things like that, be it plants or pipe irrigation, rock, brick, what have you, electrical. So it was that. It wasn't a labor thing that I had to show proof that I had paid the people that worked for me. So this is a little bit different, and we'll see. You know what? A law is a law until it's challenged in court, and it's not. But it's looked like it's backed by some of Oregon's largest unions. The bill supporters say it improves accountability among property owners and general contractors by encouraging them to vet subcontractors and ensure they aren't hiring bad actors. Well, good luck with that. So there is they're calling that a wage theft bill. Passes Oregon. Headed to the governor's desk to sign. Now, Oregon lawmakers, you remember hearing about cap and trade, and we kind of have a little cap and trade already here in the state. And our Republican lawmakers, our senators, walked out to stop cap and trade in the state of Oregon. So much so that 10 were not able to be elected again because of a law that the Democrats passed, of course, and that they could not be reelected if they had, 10, I think it was 10 unexcused absences. Well, it's up on the Senate leader if their absence is excused or not. So anyhow, Oregon lawmakers are now considering a cap and trade program to fund roads and wildfire prevention. So it's not dead. It's never going to be dead in the state of Oregon. Actually, they're going to get cap and tax come hell or high water, and I don't care what name that they're going to do it is. So the surprising development in Salem dredges up debate on a topic that once inspired, as I mentioned, multiple Republican walkouts. And so in recent weeks, there's been increasing momentum to adopt a cap and trade system where polluters purchase credits from their greenhouse gas emissions for their greenhouse gas emissions and trade them with their emitters to ensure they're meeting a declining state's emission cap. It's all bullshit. I'm sorry. It is. It's total BS. It's a shell game. And it is so that push has been led, according to 4 sources with knowledge of the talks, by Senator Bruce Starr, Republican out of Dundee, but it appears to have gained traction as other proposals to raise money for road and bridge maintenance and firefighting as they face an uncertain fate. So the top 2 Democrats, House Speaker Julie Fahey and Senate President Rob Wagner, have been engaged in talks. And apparently on Thursday morning, the effort came into public view when Senator Chris Gorsuch, a Democrat out of Gresham, and Susan McLean, Representative Susan McLean, a Democrat out of Forest Grove, sent a memo updating colleagues of their work to finalize a transportation funding bill. The memo said lawmakers have made significant progress, and the proposal could raise $1 billion a year via an increase in the state gas tax and other tax and fee hikes. Well, we'll have to see what happens. But according to the memo from Gorsuch and McLean, cap and trade revenue could be spent in a number of ways. Of course, Oregon has record revenue. What they have is a spending problem. And this will just drive more businesses away. Absolutely. Close more businesses down. Way too sad for Oregon. Are they still going to steal the kicker? That remains to be seen. I suspect that they will. We'll see what happens. Now, this other bill, an Oregon bill, this is out of yesterday, OPB. I'll stick a link here if I can get it. That an Oregon bill would again allow foster kids to be sent out of state. I frankly think It's so wrong. I think if a child that is in Oregon foster care should be kept in this state. Remember the kids they lost? Then they lied about it. Well, now it's a bill that would allow them to take the kids, hold the kids out of state. And yet they had stopped this practice several years ago after documented incidents of abuse. You know, it's hard enough to monitor something that's within your state. I'll be darned if you're going to monitor anything out of your state. It's not going to happen. Oh, you pick up the phone. Hey, how's little Johnny doing now? Oh, he's back in the detention room? Okay. How long's he going to be there? No, you're not laying eyes on the people, on the kids. And, but too bad. They don't really care. So, a foster care bill in the Oregon legislature is what they're working on. Democrat, the governor has publicly spoken in favor of this bill, and it's sponsored by Rob Noss, Democrat of Portland, of course, and Senator Sarah Gelser Bluin out of Corvallis. So too bad for the foster kids. If you don't want that bill to pass, call your people. You know, all the thing with legislatures, speak up about it. Speak up about it. It's if they don't ever hear opposition to anything, you know, then they go, well, we never heard. There wasn't any opposition. Well, one of the big controversies that's going right now is the fact that the Democrats are delaying a vote on the wildfire map repeal in order to get votes for wildfire funding. Let's see, we're going to pass a cap and trade. And then if you pass that, then we'll repeal the wildfire map. Did I hear that? How maybe that might be how the conversation went. I really don't know. I wasn't in the room, but it sounds plausible. And yeah, the Democrats are evil. They are. They do not care about our nation, and they do not care about our state, which is why they've only got a 21% approval rating, why so many people have walked away from the Democrat Party. But in Oregon, they're still pedal to the metal, going down the road of globalism and the Green New Deal type of thing. And it's the demise of Oregon. It truly is the demise of Oregon. And it's not what the people want by any means. Overwhelmingly, it is not what the people want. And I think if we had true and fair elections in this state, we might find out it's not as blue as you think. That's my opinion. So, yeah, it's a real shame that the Democrats are delaying this vote on the wildfire map repeal to get the funding. And so let's see. It says the decision to delay a vote on Senate Bill 83 came as a surprise to Republicans on the committee. They should never be surprised. Always anticipate the Democrats are going to do the worst. You can't trust them. Who the Republicans later accused Democrats, House Speaker Julie Fahey, Tina Kotek, of using it as a bargaining chip in negotiations over a wildfire funding proposal that would redirect $1 billion from the state's kicker tax return. That proposal would require a 2/3 supermajority vote in each chamber. Well, meaning at least 2 Senate Republicans and 4 House Republicans would need to approve, along with all legislative Democrats. And I'll tell you, no Republican at all should vote for it. No Republican should negotiate and vote for any of this. Let the Democrats own their damn wildfire map. And if they want it so bad, let them own it. Do not let them steal the kicker return. So if you don't want it stolen, get a hold of your Republicans and chew their ass. Let them know that no. Or if you live in a Democrat district, let them know. But the Democrats, you're talking to a wall. They will never listen. But they're going to need 2 Senate Republicans and 4 House Republicans in order to steal the kicker. Do I think they'll allow it? 100%, because we've had it before. We have always had some Republicans that will cross the line because they are in such safe districts that they will cross the line and screw the state over. And, because by gosh, they're going to get money for their district. And they all want money for their district. It's all about the Gitas. So, yeah, I don't trust them as far as I can throw any of the Republicans. Not at all. Sorry, Democrats especially. But yeah, and you know what? When the Republicans cave and go, well, we tried to make it better, because that's what they always say, and they cave on that, those people need to be ousted at any cost, need to be ousted from office, never to hold office again. And that's what it'll take. But it'll be too late, because they would have already stolen the kicker, and they don't care. It's about what they're getting. This is why we do need term limits. Okay, a little more. We've got the Oregon Senate passed a hotly contested gun bill, and that bans rapid-fire devices such as bump stocks. And it was in a 17-2 party line vote, of course. And the Democrats approved the Senate Bill 243. And let's see. The Democrats hold a supermajority in the chamber. And there they go. They've done that. So now, and this Oregon law would prohibit carrying guns in public buildings. But there are exceptions for people who have a concealed handgun license. Although, you can't carry one at the Oregon State Capitol, even if you have a concealed carry. Republicans pushed back on the bill, but tough luck. It got passed by the Senate, and we'll have to see if it gets passed in the House. It now heads to the Oregon House of Representatives, and I'm sure it'll get passed. I'm sure the Democrats have a supermajority in both. Tina Kotek has signed over 100 bills into Oregon law this last week. I'm going to put a link to this article in the comments, because it's something that y'all ought to look at, these bills. I pulled up a few. I looked at each one of these. It just gives a headline, right? A byline, I should say. One of them was 3874, and they're not in numerical order. They're just willy-nilly. And this it was House Bill 3874, and what it does, it involves FSEC. FSEC is the Energy Facility Siting Council, and currently FSEC has any project of 100 megawatts that is generating power, solar or wind, industrial wind turbines. FSEC can cite them. Well, now they're lowering that threshold to 50 megawatts. So now they can just go to FSEC. FSEC will cite a smaller project. And what it used to be was that when anything smaller than 100 megawatts needed to go to your county. Well, not anymore. With the passage of this that the governor has already signed, these are bills, that link is to bills the governor has signed only this past week, 100 bills. And I'm a person, and David and I used to talk about the energy stuff on here all the time. And I definitely miss talking with him about that kind of thing. But it now passes, a 50 megawatt is a smaller project, and they don't have to go through your county. Maybe your county has, like my county, we have a county ordinance that if you go to the county planning in order to do a project of like 50 megawatts, you have to follow our ordinances. Well, FSEC has already said, you know what, we don't have to follow your county ordinances. And the Supreme Court of Oregon has upheld that, sure enough, the Energy Facility Siting Council does not have to follow the county ordinances. They have blown away the reason of why we have land use. So I found it. I've been searching for it in this long list. The bill increases the threshold for mandatory state level siting oversight by FSEC from 50 to 100 megawatts. I had it backwards. Of average, this change allows wind projects under 100 megawatts to bypass the FSEC site for certificate process, streamlining development for mid-sized bypass FSEC site certificate process. Let me tell you, they want more of that awful development, which eats up. It's not affordable. It's breaking our state. B, it is eating up our farmland. It's not good. It actually dries out the land, like where I live over here in Umatilla County in Eastern Oregon. We have some of the most high value, unirrigated, dry farmland. The soil is so wonderful with high yields, high bushel yields of wheat, and yet wind turbines dry out the land. And they also, and solar fields change vineyards. They change the weather and change things that actually affect vineyards. And where I live, we have a lot of both of those things. Then another one was Senate Bill 945, medical assisting for foster kids to 26 years old. Kids that have, let me see if I can, here it is. The bill establishes medical assist eligibility for individuals under age 26. I mean, I thought you were an adult at 18. And at 26, you're not going to be in the foster care system. It says who have aged out of foster care in Oregon or another state. So if you've been in foster care in another state, you can come to Oregon and you're going to get medical assistance eligibility. It requires the Oregon Health Authority to seek federal matching funds for the cost of medical assistance provided to individuals who aged out of foster care in another state. So if you're a young person, and remember, Obamacare is who put the age of 26, that a 26-year-old gets to stay on your parents' health care, must stay on your parents' health care. You know, I'm all about being an adult. And that is still 18 years of age. Then another one was House Bill 2586. And 2586 was the bill allows in-state higher learning costs at public universities in Oregon and Oregon Health OHSU for students who are seeking asylum in the U.S. That means illegals. So illegals, education for illegals paid by the taxpayers of Oregon. So those were, there's more. There's way more, let me tell you, with all of this. And at the bottom of that link that I've already put in there, it says this year, the end of Oregon's legislative session for 2025 is about a month away. This year, the number of bills introduced broke records, with roughly 3,400 bills filed at the start of the session. In comparison, the last long session was 700. 3,400. And this article is by KGW8, and it says they've been tracking bills, which the governor signed on the dotted line, and there's a bunch of links to other bills and key changes that you might want to know about through the legislation that has all been done. Yeah. Wow. Put a windmill in Kotek's office. Her hot air will supply the entire state. Yes, I'm for that. Well, a few good things. There's this top 9 Supreme Court decisions to watch for in June, because the Supreme Court is going to be going on summer break. But they have heard many cases, let alone, the the opposition to the Trump administration has kept the courts quite busy, and then the Trump administration is keeping the Supreme Court busy with different things. Well, the justices have heard cases on gender affirming care for minors. They heard that in December of 2024. And so that is a decision that's going to be coming out. Also, nationwide injunctions on birthright citizenship. That will be coming out. And sex and gender in school libraries. Parents sued the Montgomery County School Board in Maryland after it determined that parents could not opt their children out of book readings with controversial content about gender and sexuality. And that was recently just had verbal arguments on that. So that will be coming. Obamacare Preventive Care Panel. In Kennedy v. Braywood Management, the Supreme Court considered the constitutionality of the Federal Preventive Services Task Force, which was created under the Obamacare law, and makes binding recommendations about preventive medical services. And so it's going to be very interesting. I'll tell you, I want government out of the doctor's office. Truthfully, I want them out of the doctor's office. The government has no place in determining what care a doctor ought to give a patient. And for anybody that's ever had to have a surgery or a particular procedure, well, we have to wait for approval, from some third party, whoever, with the insurance company. And so that's one. Obamacare Preventive Care Panel. I want to see Obamacare done away with. Let's see. The fifth one is the age verification for pornography websites. So the argument is that, they've got to prove if who's on their website, are they mandatory online age verification. And Texas passed a law requiring just that. So, and, through the internet, people can go and look at anything. Does it make it right? No. But you do want to protect the young. And so we'll see what happens with that. Medicaid funding for Planned Parenthood is another one. And abortion returned to the Supreme Court this term with Medina v. Planned Parenthood. The case is about Medicaid funding for Planned Parenthood, which provides abortion as well as birth control and pregnancy testing. And they heard the oral arguments in April. And so we're going to see what happens with that. Mexico's lawsuit against gun companies. U.S. gun manufacturers have asked the Supreme Court to quash a lawsuit brought by the Mexican government that alleged that U.S. companies were liable for guns being used in violence committed by criminal cartels in Mexico. No. A company, a manufacturer is not. Guns don't kill people. It's the people that do. And they're not, in my opinion, they're not liable. Although we've seen some crazy things, right? Like, and I remember, and I'm sure you guys will remember this too, when the woman got her coffee from McDonald's, burned herself, and then sued McDonald's and won. Or you have a ladder, you fall off the ladder and you sue the ladder manufacturer because you were too stupid on how to use the ladder correctly. And it wasn't the ladder, it's the operator. So anyway, crazy, right? Let's see, Palestinian terrorists. There are two consolidated cases about whether families of terror attack victims can sue the Palestine Liberation Organization terrorist group. And so in April, the Supreme Court seemed to lean toward upholding the federal Promoting Security and Justice for Victims Terrorism Act, which empowered Americans harmed by terrorist attacks abroad to sue in U.S. court. We'll see what happens. Nuclear waste storage. Texas objected to the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission attempt to license private storage providers, to operate an interim storage facility in the Permian Basin, which is the nation's most productive oil field. The state said the proposed location could jeopardize the oil field, and so Texas sued, and the Supreme Court took up the Nuclear Regulatory Commission v. Texas case after the state won in the U.S. Court of Appeals of the Fifth Circuit. So that will be interesting. And I don't nuclear storage. We have a few places in our country that they store nuclear waste, and I think that frankly should be limited and not expanding. And I will say, I believe that the United States is the largest storer of nuclear waste in the world. Well, today I was able to watch President Trump in the Oval Office speak about Elon Musk and his service to the United States in his Doge capacity and many more. And so, Trump he had so many things to say about Musk. And I will tell you, I hold Musk in the highest regard. Here it is, a brilliant man, didn't ask for anything. Well, hell, he's the richest man in the world, richest person in the world. And he doesn't need anything. He doesn't need compensating. He's just trying to help America and the Doge. Well, Doge is not dead. And as Musk said, this is not the end of Doge, but really the beginning. And Trump had said his special employment, government employee, that part is over, but he's not gone. He'll still be around as a friend and an advisor. And Trump gave Elon a gold key in a beautiful case to the key to the White House, to Elon Musk. Here's the guy who's like got anything, right? And I gave him that. And it was just nice to see. And Elon made some an interesting observation. He says, this Oval Office has really changed. I love what you've done. And he pointed to the ceiling, was looking up, because there's an eagle on the ceiling, and Trump had it gold embossed with 24 karat gold. And so the camera panned up and looked at the ceiling and the gold stars around. And Musk had said, he goes, that didn't even stand out before. And he says, what you've done in this room, he says, look around. It is just magnificent. And so, and I know Trump has put so many portraits in there. And of course, he has all the flags of all the armed services, all of our branches of services in there. And Elon Musk has just been attacked so much for his good work. But we have to realize that those that are attacking are such a minority. They are the loudest bunch, but they are the minority. And I believe the majority are truly, truly behind Elon Musk and support him with what he's done, not just with Doge, but for humanity. His work with going to space. I mean, imagine, the chopsticks catching the rocket as it comes back down, and he doesn't seem to get flustered. He says, well, when something goes wrong, he says, well, we'll learn from that one. And and he's contributed a lot to humanity, to AI. Speaking of AI, I'm going to ask you, do not use ChatGPT or whatever it's called, because um, the they are making contracts to sell everything that you ask for into Google, apparently. Where if you use Grok on X, that's your search. You can go back and look at what you've searched about and whatnot. I use Grok. I haven't used Grok in a while, but I have. There's times, especially when I was sick for these last couple of weeks, Grok and I were. I was looking up different things. I was wondering, what did I have? Because I was pretty sick and I had some symptoms that I've never experienced before. And so, Grok, if you are on X, at the very bottom of your X account, it says Grok, and Grok is the artificial intelligence use of X. And so, actually, I've not heard of Brave, but I've very familiar with Grok, and I really like it. But stay away, my opinion, from Chat GPTG or whatever that's called. So I just want to more kudos. Also Elon Musk has the Neuralink that is helping people with spinal injuries to walk, helping people to hear that have not been able to, helping people to see that have optic nerve damage. He's doing a lot for humanity. And frankly, I think his robots are pretty darn cool. I do think his robots are pretty cool. Maybe one of these days I might even own one. You never know. You never know. So it was really neat to watch Trump today in the office. Oh, and speaking of, let me go back to Musk a minute, because then after Trump spoke and after Elon Musk spoke, they said, okay, we'll take some questions from the media in there. And the first person to ask a question of Musk was the New York Times. And Musk said, wait a minute, is this the same New York Times that got sued because you wouldn't do a retraction, and the lies and the stories that you told? It was like classic. I just went, he says, nah, we're not going there. Next question. It was so good. I love seeing that, holding them accountable, going, nah, I'm not even giving you the time of day, but yet calling them out. And what can they say? Because he's speaking truth. Absolutely speaking truth. It was so good to see. Both of those men have got great sense of humors, where we are lucky to have them contributing to the betterment of our country at this time in history. I'll tell you, so much so. So it was, then Elon Musk had on his right eye, he had like a black eye. And so one of the reporters says, what happened to your eye? And Elon says, well, I told my son, little X, and I were playing around, and I told him, yeah, go ahead and hit me in the face. Well, he did. He goes, I didn't know a 5-year-old was going to leave me a bruise. He goes, that hurt. And Trump said, if it was little X, I believe it. So Elon Musk got a black eye from his 5-year-old kid. Little X, something else. Well, we have some more good news, is that the Supreme Court today allowed the Trump administration to remove the parole status of immigrants from 4 countries. That's 500,000 people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. They are out of here. And, Trump is winning. He's going to continue to win. And I believe he is, because I believe what he's doing is on the right side of the law. It's on the right side of the Constitution. And these are activist judges that are really causing a constitutional type crisis in our country. And it's a shame that the Supreme Court has not just stepped in, but truthfully, the more you get educated about it, it is our Congress that needs to set this straight. They can actually dissolve these judges. They're not in our Constitution. And they can also, the legislators can pass laws that takes any of that ability for a nationwide injunction away. It shouldn't happen to Trump. It shouldn't happen to any president, quite frankly. It never happened when Biden opened our border, which we have laws to keep the border closed. That's the type of thing that irks me. If you don't like the law, change the law, but you shouldn't be able to just arbitrarily pick and choose which laws you're going to enforce in our country. So, hey, everybody, have a great weekend. Thank you for being with me tonight. And you're right, Lori, many in Congress do need to be gone. And, I was reading an article today. I follow Jeff Childers on Coffee and COVID. If you don't follow him, let me tell you, it's on Substack. He's great. And today he wrote about this and a little bit, stating that on the Republican side, we have a lot more younger people that are getting elected and coming up, and more patriots. But on the Democrat side, they're older and older and older, and they've actually, the reason, they were just actually able to pass this most recent big bill legislation is because the Democrats actually dying off. There's been many that have, and that's, while that is sad, it's actually helping us, the nation. So, but we do need to get rid of those so-called rhinos, those that are there for their own gain, and they've been bought and paid for by Big Pharma or whoever, and instead of wanting to do what's right for our country. It is about doing what's right for our country, following our Constitution, and following the law. All right, everybody, have a super weekend. Thank you. Please like and share.